First story. New friendships causes havoc. I need opinions. My girlfriend 30F and I, 23M, have been dating for just a little bit over 2 years now. About 6 months a year ago now, my girlfriend and I went to a car meet. At that car meet, we were meeting with people who had interests similar to ours. We ended up meeting this guy. I'm going to call him Mark, 42M, for privacy reasons. When we first met Mark, I was pretty introverted, but I thought he was cool. I'm pretty sure this is when his and my girlfriend exchanged social media. We ended up seeing him at another car meet after the first one, and then we went to a convention with him. There's one more person to this story. We'll just call him Larry, 41M. Larry was at the first car meet as well, so it turned into a group of myself, my girlfriend, Mark, Mark's girlfriend, and Larry. Ever since we all went to the convention together, we all started hanging out more. Mark, his girlfriend, and Larry were all party animals. I'm not. My girlfriend started to lean into the party animal vibe with them, and we ended up going to a few after parties at the convention. One of them was a hotel room party, strippers. Of course it was just 2 dancers in books twerking and dancing and whatnot. Mark had previously worked in the stripper business, so of course he had volunteered to be one of the strippers at this event. Beforehand, since we were close with Mark, my girlfriend suggested I get a lap dance from her because she and I had joked I wanted to learn how to lap dance from her. I insisted I was good. I don't like people all up in my space sort of deal. We got to the party and I got high. I don't drink. I mostly sat in a corner quietly, watching the strippers dance. Soon enough, my girlfriend and Mark walk over and Mark leans over, asking if I want a lap dance, my girlfriend grinning behind her. I was high, of course, and I got extremely anxious, so I deflected it off myself by recommending my girlfriend to get one instead, and he did. I remember switching seats with him so she'd have more room to move around. I wasn't 100% comfortable with the idea, but I tried to calm myself and assure myself that Mark would never do anything to make us uncomfortable. Then it started. My girlfriend accidentally kneed him in the face, so she touched his face and apologized. I felt a twinge of jealousy, but I shook it off. She put her hands on the ground and started shaking it in his face, rubbed up against his crotch, bounced, etc. I looked away. I never remembered people saying lap dances were like this. He was smiling erratically the entire time. I tried pushing it out of my mind. October 21st, December 31st, we visited Mark and his girlfriend 7 times. January 1st, March 8th, we saw Mark and his girlfriend 9 times. Mark actually lived 1.5 to 2 hours away from us, so my girlfriend would convince me to go out to visit Mark Larry for days at a time. Like we would either go to Mark's overnight, or we would all go to Larry's and stay in his basement, and party till like 12 a.m. -4 a.m. Now, these similar interests we shared also led to private photo shoots, not anything nasty, just see-through topless kind lingerie and cute outfits and such. So, sometimes while staying at Larry's, we'd all legal adults by the way, all get in like cute lingerie and take pictures together. The pictures were never released anywhere, it was always for fun. One night, I remember around like 2 to 4 a.m. Can't remember exactly time, I informed Larry, my girlfriend, and Mark I wouldn't be participating in photos that night because I was exhausted. I ended up falling asleep on the couch right next to them while they continued photos. I woke up to my girlfriend shaking my shoulder. I was hardly conscious when we whispered in my ear, "Mark and Larry are completely naked right now." My initial first thought was that they were hooking up. But then I remembered Mark had a girlfriend. I remember slowly opening my eyes and asking for clarification, to which she gave it to me, repeating herself. I laid frozen. I'm somebody with a big history of sexual harassment abuse, so it wasn't something I was ready for. I got up and slowly crept to the bathroom. Larry called my name and I kept my head glued forward. I avoided looking at either Mark or Larry. I feel like somebody's history is something you should take into account when randomly getting naked. I contemplated staying in the bathroom for a bit. My girlfriend has asked to get naked with them when she woke me up, and I immediately said no. She explained it was just no insecurities and just being open with people. We're just close, but to me it just felt like some stupid fantasy. I came out of the bathroom and crept back to the couch, laid down again. My girlfriend asked to take pictures with Mark, so as a sleepy spooked fella, I gave her the go. I remember my heartbeat racing as I tried my hardest to fall back asleep. I could hear Mark and Larry discussing what Mark's girlfriend would think. Larry asked about her consent and Mark claimed it would just make her fuck we harder, ha ha ha. Good for us. However, you should probably consider somebody else's consent before you get naked. For example, the person unconscious on the couch in the same room. Not to mention he got naked in front of my girlfriend. My girlfriend says she couldn't stop them because Larry announced she was gonna get naked, and to be fair, it is Larry's house, so you know. Larry's different, just a guy getting naked in a house he owns. Mark got naked in a friend's house with unconscious, unconsenting people in the same room. This is where things really started to take a turn. I have BPD, and I was just diagnosed with autism. I have never directly laid boundaries with anybody, but I feel that getting naked around somebody else's partner would cross basically anybody's boundaries. I don't think I have strict boundaries whatsoever. I've never stopped my girlfriend from talking to somebody or adding somebody online. Unfollowing, maybe, but she's mostly free to do as is. Mark started to touch my girlfriend, where she touched him back, which coordinates with a shared interest. That made it much harder to disconnect. I never communicated with Mark how I felt about these situations because I'm horribly afraid of confrontation and rejection. My girlfriend watched me split and break down, pulling my hair and yelling and crying, sinking to the floor or even punching my wall. I was never calm after that night. I started to notice that my girlfriend was becoming increasingly protective over her phone. So of course I finally brought it up and mentioned how she was acting and how it made me feel uncomfortable and insecure. She assured me it was just because Larry was influencing her about privacy, which Larry is a very private person, so I knew she was telling the truth. Though, there's a big difference in having privacy and in having secrecy. I waited days to be able to look at her phone. We argued day and night. She would let me fall asleep facing away in tears while she texted other people. One morning, I talked with a friend and decided enough is enough. So I sat down with my girlfriend and told her, either you let me go through your phone, or you move out earlier. For context, she lived with me. She was moving back to her parents so she'd be closer to work. She took a deep breath and stood up, grabbing one of her handbags. Of course I immediately stormed out, gripping my phone, feeling my heart beat in and out of my chest. I took some laundry down and he chased after me. She asked to talk about it. I slammed the basket down and said there's nothing to talk about. I grabbed the car keys and went to the dog park to talk to my sister. She calmed me down and took me for groceries after. On our way back into my neighborhood, I noticed my girlfriend had left the house through Life 360. I saw her pulling out of the neighborhood while passing her, so I tried waving her down and yelling at her, but she just slowed down and kept going. I called her and asked where she was going. I remember freezing and my sister cussed at my girlfriend and hung up on her own accord. I came home to find she had taken most of her stuff with her. I texted Mark and told him I suspected my girlfriend had been cheating on me. Thinking he was a dude's, he never texted me back. She ended up staying at Mark and Larry's apartment for a week. She was drinking with them every night. She texted me the night she left and told me we'd talk tomorrow. I remember feeling like I was going to implode. I spent every second from then resisting the urge to shaking my head, waiting anxiously, every minute, every second. Next day, I texted her probably about 10 times throughout the day, and she ended up responding later in the day. She broke up with me and blocked me everywhere except Snapchat. I texted our group chat on Telegram with Mark, Larry, Mark's girlfriend, and another mutual friend. I said if my girlfriend Mark or Larry don't reply to me right now, I'm taking this whole group chat down with me. I guess they assume I meant I was going to release their photo shoots. 2 was kicked from the group chat less than 30 seconds later. Which, side note, I meant I was going to spam mention everyone lol. I immediately broke down and started hyperventilating. I went to text Mark but he had already blocked me everywhere. Larry was ignoring me, our other mutual friend was ignoring me too. It stayed this way for a week. I was cooped up in my workout place. I ended up relapsing 3 times in 1 week. Where I had previously been clean for 9 months, my longest time ever. I remember messaging everyone and begging for help, saying I needed a friend, somebody to support me. I started explaining I didn't feel safe around myself, I didn't feel safe in general. Nobody ever responded. My ex-girlfriend ended up sexting me one night on Snapchat. I played along because I was so eager for a response. I begged her to come over to hook up and she agreed. We planned a day. She never showed, but the next day she and Mark's girlfriend came. I got in their car, and I told my girlfriend it felt so weird seeing her face again. She agreed. She drove us to a forest and we are hooked up twice in the back seat. We done the deems twice then Mark's girlfriend leave us alone. From then on out, I gave my girlfriend some money and new iPhone. We spent the rest of the day together and when we got back to my house, she said she wouldn't mind trying us again, as long as we take a break. She claims she left me because of my depression, my lack of sexual activity, and my money spending. Turns out Mark actually convinced my girlfriend to dump me and block me, telling her that it's not her problem how I react. Which by the way I was a few days away from overdosing before she came back. My depression was actually autistic burnout and depression. I was basically paralyzed in bed for months. I for some reason physically could not get horny, and sometimes I still can't and it still bothers her. I spend a lot of money since I grew up from poor family with a shopping addiction mom and I use it to fill a gap within me. One that would probably be full if he could love me like he did when we first met. Anyway. About a month or 2 later, we ended up secretly getting back together. Larry had reached out to me a few days after the breakup and played Fortnite with me and checked up on me, and Larry had no problem with me so I told him. He had no problem keeping it a secret temporarily. Eventually, a few months later, I told my girlfriend to let Mark know we were back together since they kicked me from the chat and everything. My girlfriend made it seem like they had a funny reaction so I asked her tell me. And she said I said we got back together and Mark asked why. And she said because I love her and she said because he's a joke of the group chat. And I said you just meant you were going to mock me to everyone. And she said well it's still a funny play, which by the way is a huge bitchy move. I was seeing red. I could give her a real funny play to be worried about for sure. Not too much. I have half the photos they took for their photo shoots, so even if I wanted to release the pics, I couldn't, but I won't, because I'm not a bad person. Ends up Mark told my girlfriend she's no longer welcome to stay over because she went back to her toxic ex. When I have given her hundreds in support of her life. She lives with me rent-free, I give her presents and buy her stuffs all the time. She's always getting cards and I'm always texting her how much I love her. And I have never laid my hands on her or purposefully made her feel bad about herself by any means. Mark called me toxic because I wanted a kick who purposefully came in between my girlfriend and I for months to be blocked. I ended up asking my girlfriend to block him for almost half a year. Every time I asked if she did it, it was I don't know how Larry will feel about it because he's really close with Mark. I forgot to I haven't had any time to because of work. Mark's girlfriend called me manipulative. Every time I think of Mark, it physically hurts. I am filled with so much rage and sadness. He made my biggest fears come true. My girlfriend abandoned me, and all my friends left me. Never even really liked me at all in the first place, all at the same time. I was diagnosed with PTSD recently due to my past, and I know a little bit is from that week. I was puking from starving, bleeding every other night, crying until I couldn't breathe or see. My girlfriend and I have been back together for 4 months now. She doesn't treat me or love me like she used to much anymore. I usually have to remind her. I finally got her to block Mark on all platforms maybe last week. I don't know if it'll last, but she fought to keep him as a friend for like half a year. She always put him above me. Ever since that party, I've always felt she chose him over me. She would never let me look at their convos, but recently, I told her I'm almost done with her BS. So she let me look. Nothing suspicious, so I don't understand why she hid it. Although Mark did call me toxic. He said all his family members and friends said that I'm telling her to cut them off, and I wanting to look through her phone is toxic and unnecessary when he used my girlfriend for fun. When he actively makes me a nuts guys off my social media and tells me I can't wear anything revealing my bottom at all. Why is it any different? Meanwhile, my licensed therapist and psychologist are saying she has no reason to hide her privacy, and it creates a lot of toxic qualities in relationships. Point of this being, I know in emotional affairs, the person usually puts the other person on top of their partner, focusing so much on their friend, that their primary relationship with their partner suffers, which ours did, greatly and still does sometimes. She claims it was no such thing, but she would drive 2 hours to go hang out with Mark and Larry would tell them things she wouldn't tell me, like she trusted them more. She also started criticizing me more when we became friends with Mark, like my sex drive, and started pointing out my flaws like she never had before. She was also gonna get her nipples pierced with him, and his last text with her was her asking to get drank, and he said some other time. Please help. Was this an emotional affair? I've expressed it to her probably over 100 times, sobbing, looking her in the eyes. She's watched me pull my heart out from the stress of her, and then turned around and texted Mark anyway. I know she's blocked now, but I just can't forget anything that happened. I know. I'm reminding her that I can leave too, even if it's harder for me to leave when I'm gone. I'm gone. Like I've only ever left 2 people in my life and have never contacted them again. I start physically shaking when I think of her touching him in any case. I can't believe I ever trusted her around him. He's damaged our relationship to the point where I don't know if I want to be with the person I saw my entire future with anymore. I'm so mad that her dumb ass can ruining my love of my life in an instant. Second story. Is she lying to me? I-30M and my GF42F are being together for a few months now. She never had any serious relationships before me while I had few. She never hides her phone or anything suspicious. We meet in her friends' flats 3-4 times a week, and simultaneously after gym, she spends whole day texting me, keeps sending me reels, comes whenever I want to meet her from her bar, or when she is in the gym. She has a demanding job, so we can only meet during these times. Also, we share same gym. But last week, I told her I couldn't meet her after gym, because I was busy, but went somehow earlier with another route to the gym. I saw her talking to a guy in the dark, not alone. There were people around them, but it was dark. She was coming from gym and was heading to her home. I was shocked to see her in this type of situation with a guy because she doesn't have much friends. I went in front of her on my bike and stopped few meters away from them and looked back at her, then went ahead. She sent her away and started calling me. Why you didn't stop? He is just a mate from her bar, she told me. Fast forward to yesterday, she told me she was going with her brother for some household works. I called her and told her I can drop her wherever she wants, but she denies and said it was getting late. I got suspicious and I followed her. She sat on a guy bike. He was the same mate from bar. and followed her for some times, and then called her where she was. She told me she is going to do that work. I confirmed what she was wearing to confirm it was her, and she somehow realized that I'm following her again. She stopped that guy and said to go away. When I confronted her, she told me he accidentally met and was going on the same direction, so she sat on her bike. She also showed me call logs that her brother is actually coming to pick her up. I have told her I wanted to meet him in person. She is saying it will ruin her image in bar, but she is also okay with me meeting him when I asked for his phone number. She said she don't have his number. I'm getting really worried whether she do more things in my absence or not. What should I do? Please help me. It's ruining my mental peace. Update. She also told me his name wrong, is refusing to give me his number. She now has his number from bar register book ACC to her. I'm going to meet him today. What should I do? I know what she's doing. She is telling me one thing then does something different. Take it from an old relative like my uncle. Hers 55, been married twice. First wife cheated after 12 years together. The second wife unfortunately passed away from cancer after only being together for 6 years. Now he been with his GF for 14 years, but in between all of that he been dated a lot of women. I mean, he dated and lived with 3 strippers and plenty of hot women that worked at bars and clubs. All the man wanted hang out at. But my girlfriend isn't respecting me at all. I know she is playing games when I say she has stress bar job. Why would that matter? It sounds like when she says she is at work you can't come over, she is out with bar guy. There is 8 billion people on earth, that means half are female. I can tell this. There is a woman out there that will worship the ground I walk on as long as I treat her like a woman.